Wow. Episode 73, Bang Biscuit, podcast talking shop with Coach Ballgame and my good friend, Coach Chop. Chopperoo, how are you?
Doing great. I'm doing even better when I got to see that shout out. That made my night.
What are you talking
Fill
about? I don't even know
fill the
what you're talking
listeners,
about.
fill the
I'm full
listeners in.
big grin right here on my face, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Just sitting there.
Um,
Yeah, you tell the listeners. I'm sure they saw it, but fill them in.
I was at Chipotle with my daughter, my 5-year-old Aubrey James, and we were having a burrito. And all of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up. Ping, bang, boom, pow. And I get the text. Oh, Coach Ballgame was on the broadcast, the World Series broadcast, which I kind of expected. I thought they might, they might show some video feed of the camp for our listeners out there. Hello, by the way, for our patrons. We love you. Thank you for the support. 73 episodes deep here of the pod. What is the pod? Let's make youth coaching better. I got a great guest today, by the way, who is definitely making coaching better out there. But as far as the weekend goes, I was in Dallas. I ran my final play ball camp of the year. It was awesome. 150 kids at the Texas Rangers Youth Academy. And there was some video cameras there, MLB Network, Fox. I don't know all the cameras, but they were there. They were documenting, and it was awesome. But we did get a shout out on the World Series broadcast, and it was heightened because of friend of the pod, Joe Davis, who's calling the game. He's the play-by-play announcer for Fox, and I'm sure somebody just gave him the card to read about this play ball event. But then he noticed the name Coach Ballgame. Bingo, Chopper and Ballgame do a podcast. I was a guest, so he really gave me a good shout out there and said, Coach Ballgame, who's a great guy. How can you not? With the name Coach Ballgame, how can you not be a good dude? So a really cool shout out. What a pro Joe Davis is. And that's all you, man. You brought that dude onto the pod. Love it.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was I love listening to Joe Davis call a game. We know how prepared he is. The listeners got to hear it. And when your handsome mug jumps on there, and I knew he was gonna have good things to say about you because he knows you and he knows how awesome you are. That was
What
great.
a guy. Yeah, I enjoyed that conversation. Go back and listen to that one. Joe talks about his first World Series, and just his plight through the minor leagues of broadcasting to get to where he's at now, which is the biggest stage you can get on. What a great play ball camp they had. I got a signed baseball by one of my dad's favorite players. Nick Swisher was there, another friend of the
Boom.
pod. And no surprise, he brought the absolute energy to that 150 kid crew. And when you're a World Series champion, you've been there, you've done that, and you get thrown into this situation with a bunch of kids and they all want autographs. It's pretty easy to just kind of sit back and let it all come to you. Not the Swish. He jumped right in with a good athletic position, energy ready to go. And he was the guy that was getting in there, helping the kid with his batting stance, fist bumping and high fiving, passing out baseball cards. One thing I did with a great crew of former pros here is before it all started, you had Michael Bourne, all-star and great base stealer. You had Derek Holland, former pitcher. You had Swish. You had Dexter Fowler. Come on, my wife's favorite player. And I told him that when I met him. I said, my wife, she knew nothing about baseball prior to this Cubs run of 2015 and 16 and 17. Fell in love with it. Fell in love with you. And she cried when you got traded to the Cardinals. And Dex said, I cried too, which was really, really neat. So he's there. Jenny Finch was there. Darren Oliver as well. And then Dylan Betances, who's like 7'4", four-time All-Star. threw cheese for the Yanks and Mets, but I gave them all a pack of baseball cards, and these are like 1993 Fleer. And before the camp started, I said, "Hey, if the kids make a good choice, give them one of these cards." Those guys, they were trading the cards. They were looking at them. They were like, "Look at this! Look at this, Walt Weiss!" They
Yes.
loved looking at those. They were trying to do a little bit of trading cards before the camp started, but that was a good way to kind of meet them, and it was great camp. I felt like MLB really got behind me. They made a flyer for me and put me on the World Series broadcast with a shout out as well. So super pumped for what 2024 will bring. I feel like I've got a solid footing there with play ball and MLB now. And the all the high brass was there, and they all really said, "Boy, you let your hair down today. You really got after it." I finished the year off with a bang, and I got to tell the Roberto Clemente story to all of these kids. The following day, we had our brand new Roberto Clemente Award recipient, Aaron Judge, which I can't think of a better guy to get that. Just everything I hear about him, just a stand-up man, more off the field than on, and he's an amazing on-field presence. But attaboy, Aaron Judge, way to join that elite club of great people. And when you go down that list of Clemente Award winners, there's no bad apples. I mean, those are clubhouse glue guys through and through. So a big attaboy there. I just heard from one of my boots in the New York City area that they love the Yankees. When they heard that Aaron Judge won the award, the 12-year-old son went over to mom and told the whole story, the whole Roberto Clemente story to mom. So hey, that story's got legs and lives on. So great job, play ball. Great job, MLB. Great job, Nick Swisher. I got this ball that I'll mail to my dad because he was born in the Cleveland area. Huge Swish fan. So now Dad's he's adding to his collection. He's got Cal Ripken Jr. He's got Ozzie Smith. He's got Al Raboski, and we'll be shipping him Nick Swisher as well. So great stuff, man. Great stuff. What's cooking on your end? Any tournaments this weekend?
Had an tournament off weekend. We didn't have any tournaments over the weekend. We have 3 tournaments coming up though the next 3 weekends. So that's
Bingo.
That's a lot. That's a lot more than we're used to. We went ahead and added an extra one. We don't normally do more than 1 tournament a month, but we have 2 teams, so 1 each typically. But we went ahead and added one in Phoenix in a couple weeks, so that'll be fun. The boys, they love the tournaments. Coaches love practice, and kids love games. So we're kind of giving them what they want for the next few weeks here, and it coincides with overseeding. So we don't have a lot of practice fields right now, so we stumbled into it, but that might be how we navigate November moving forward. No shave November.
I love your beard. I love how it's coming in real
Thank
nice. And I love how you treat baseball fields like golf courses. I mean, it's a priority for you. Why would you say that? Why is the grass, the dirt, why is it important to you?
I had this conversation this morning with a coach actually on the phone, and we were talking about why that is. I was like, man, I could just stay out there for 10, 12 hours just working on it. And his thing was, it's because you can see the good Lord in it. You can see our creator through it, where you give it a little bit of love and that grass gets greener, and you can just see the magnificence of God through it. And I think that's why, whether consciously or subconsciously, it's that instant gratification of like, if I just give this grass a little bit more water, watch what happens. And I love it. And I love the kids getting able to get on a nice field. It's what our dads did for us. We talk about this a lot. I feel like we've been doing our kids a disservice for way too long. And we're not being mindful of how we're kind of passing along fields and just overall maintenance of stuff. I think it's important.
Man, you know how much I love golf, and a lot of it has to do with just the nature and God's creation. and getting away from my phone and just seeing the trees and hearing the birds and the manicured grass. It does something real nice to my soul, just like a manicured baseball field does. So good on you. And carrying the torch that your dads did for you as well. Today's guest, he's doing a ton for not just the next generation, but also for the next generation of coaches. He does coaches clinics all over the country, and I got to know him back during the COVID times when we were both just posting up, doing live feeds on our Instagram and YouTube, and I got wind that this guy, man, he's doing exactly what you're doing. He's got the energy. He's straight Jersey, baby, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners, maybe all of you listeners, have seen him pop up on your feed. His name's Duke Baxter, but he's got a training facility called Zone Sports in Jersey. He's got training courses called Dominate the Diamond with his pal Coach Steve. Incredible information, really well done videos. He skews a little bit more advanced than me. He's more into the travel ball culture, also softball culture, but the philosophy is the same. And I think his passion lies with mine, which is coaches, and the importance of a good coach could change a game, right? But a great coach is going to change that life, and he really goes all in with that. So give him a follow right now, listener. He's awesome, and he should be on in just a minute or two. One of the questions I'm going to ask him, and I'll go to you while we wait for him to arrive. Why do you coach, Chopper? I think that's a question he asks a lot of his coaches that he works with in his clinics. But I think our listener will respect your answer to that. Why do you coach?
It's the impact you can have on these young men's life. It's the truthfully, like, the ability to help them navigate adversity and to give them confidence and to help them know that their worth is not found on what they do on a field, but how they treat others, to inspire them to be a little bit better. And it's from coaches that you and I had, right? So it's Tim O'Donohue was, the best coach ever in my youth in Tustin. And he's to this day still runs a camp with 200 plus kids. He's been doing it since I helped him when I was 14 years old as one of his coaches. But he kind of rode that line of, he held us accountable, but we always knew that he loved us and that we mattered. And so that matters, and I'll never forget him. Kind of like we were talking about last week with Ben, it's, you don't forget a coach like that. And so as I've gotten older and been around amazing baseball people and have learned a lot about the game and still have a ton to learn, I want to share that. And I want to inspire young guys and these kids, and just, man, the more you give, the more you get. Right. And that it's food for the soul. And I wish I could be on a baseball field 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. And it's not from the scoreboard. It's from the impact we can have on the kids. And I love it. It's my favorite thing.
My favorite coach, my favorite teacher, my favorite professor, whatever you want to call her, was Lowry Marshall. And I'm gonna save why she was my favorite. She just recently passed after a long battle, and man, I'm forever grateful to her. So that's a tease, listener. As I see our guest has arrived, and I'm excited, and he's going to bring the energy. It's going to be a New Jersey energy that he's going to bring, and I'll say this, Duke Baxter, can you hear us? Can you see us, brother?
I sure can.
Bang! As I go on the road, Coach, I can't tell you how many moms and dads reference you, whether the videos you post about the skills of the game, but I think more importantly, the philosophy of the game, and the amount of parents that have talked about your hat method and how that has changed their connection, their relationship with their children, is huge. So there's another tease, listener. We will talk hat method with Duke Baxter. But how you doing today, brother? Where do we find you today?
Find me. We're inside zoned. We're inside zoned, hanging out in the office right now and getting ready for little Halloween trick or treating later on today. But we're pretty much just finishing up our tryouts. So we're in the tryout process, for the teams and getting ready to ramp up our end of the year programs and lead into the winter training.
I love it. Listener, go ahead and follow Zoned Sports. Go ahead and follow Dominate the Diamond. Just get a geyser of good coaching info on your feed on a daily basis. Duke, meet my good pal, Chad Chop. I don't know if you guys have ever crossed paths, but you definitely see eye to eye on how we coach the next generation. He's got boys that play in the travel ball world, and he's also a coach at a high school. So you guys definitely skew a wee bit more towards the elite than I do. I am a little bit more into the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the newcomer, the sandlotter, the do I want to play this game or not? But I love how you do both, Duke. You could teach a kid how to spray it to the opposite gap. You can teach a second baseman how to flip too, but you can also teach a T-ball coach how to run a practice, which I love. And I'll start off with this question that I just asked Chopper, and it's a question you ask a lot of your parents and coaches. Why do you coach, Duke Baxter?
That's a good question. I love the game from a really young age and had some really good coaches that influenced me and impacted me in a great way, whether it was taking us out to ice cream after a win or a loss, or a coach that just got on their knee and just put their arm around you to give you a little confidence booster. And I feel like as I was playing and growing up, whether it was rec ball or travel ball or middle school, high school, all the way up, it was just, the impact that a coach had on me was, just exponential in so many ways. And I just love giving back and doing the same exact thing to all the players that hopefully that I coach and work with. I started when I was in high school, right? High school, working camps for the other youngsters. And our high school coach was huge on bringing all the high school kids into and turning them into coaches, see what it's like to be a counselor and to, give back to the game. And I really fell in love with it from that point on, of just being like, wow, this is fun, helping a kid do some things that you were taught. Who knows how much I was really teaching when I was only in high school. But at the end of the day, it's something I just love doing, whether the kid's 6 or 16 or 26. I love it.
There's a buzz you get when you impact somebody, and a lot of times I'll get an email. I got one this morning. A kid who's a huge Aaron Judge fan, and I've coached him for years. And when he found out that he won the Roberto Clemente Award, he went right into his mom's room and he told her the whole Roberto Clemente story that he had listened to, at one of my sandlots. But yeah, that buzz you get when you impact somebody's life. Not so much the game, but the life, and that's the lens that me and Chopper look through big time. What about the coach that's never coached before, or that first time, or maybe they never even played before, and they see our videos, and we've been coaching for 25 years now. What's your advice to that guy, that mechanic, that doctor, that nurse, that electrician? Their kid is out there, and their name is called, their number is called. What's your first piece of advice for them?
I love that. Coach Steve and I, when we started doing this, when we started doing these coaches clinics, we found that a little over 50% of the moms and dads are first-time coaches, but most, if not all of them, never even touched a baseball before. So they don't know how to hold the ball. They don't know how to teach throwing. They don't know the game itself. So it's really starting from a clear slate of what to do. So we tell them to put their sneakers on. We tell them we hand out gloves, and we go over the grip. But more importantly, in the beginning, it's teaching them a baseball knee, how to take a baseball knee, how to talk to the kids at their level, We have a word of the day, whether it's hustle or effort, and just really connect with the kids, get to know them. And all the coaches themselves wear name tags. So we can say, hey, Johnny, Mikey, just to kind of the way that you give out names to each kid, we make sure that the parents realize the importance of calling Johnny by his name or by his nickname, not just, hey, buddy, hey, guy with the white hat, like really connecting and communicating with them. And then us as coaches having the name tag on so they can say, hey, Coach Duke, can I do this? Or, hey, so we're all, talking to each other at our level. So the other thing that I think that scares them a lot of times is that they don't call themselves coach. Well, I'm just a mom that's coaching. Well, you're a coach then, because you're in charge of 12 kids and you're the one that gets that 5-year-old to either play the game again or quit the game. And that's why we invest so much of our time in that person, because there's so much stuff for the travel coach or for the advanced coach. But when you get to that point, the kids already love the game. We're talking about the people that make the biggest difference. And that's why we invest in that group. The one that doesn't even call themselves a coach, they're the ones that are going to be the ones that grow the game, or the game's going to do this. And I don't think people are talking about that enough, but
100.
that's our niche. That's
100%. I love that. And I do think that communicating with a child and engaging with them is most important, to reel them in, to be, and I think that's the future of the game. We've got to find very personable adults that can engage, communicate, connect with these kids. But I think what gets in the way is this insecurity. I've never played the game. I don't know how to coach the game. And so there's anxiety that comes up because I don't know how to teach this 6-year-old how to catch this ball. So you forget the most important part, which is communicating. Chopper, what do you got on that note?
Yeah. How do you navigate for these young coaches, especially the ones that are new to it? Baseball can be really boring if you don't know how to coach it the right way. So what are some tools you give coaches, be it, different ways to navigate a practice, if it's station-based or 3v3v3, 4v4v4? What are some things you do for new coaches?
I think that's awesome. I see, the first thing that we say is to assess your team, right? How many kids do you have? How many parents, how many moms and dads can you get to help out? Because with that, then you can kind of figure it, okay, three kids are going to go with this one, 3 here, 3 there. And really it's all station based. So we try to create 4 different shells in every practice. And a shell would consist of 3 kids working on ground balls, 3 working on fly balls, 3 working on base running, and 3 working a hitting station. So there's your practice plan. 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes. They rotate around. There's 32 minutes. We have a water break. We mix in a fun competition, and then we finish off with a fun 5-on-5 game or a 6-on-6 game. So practice is always very structured, organized, but small sprints of different fun situational play, whether it's us just tossing smush balls and kids having the ball hit them on their head. So we're working on getting in front of the ball and kind of getting underneath the ball, or maybe they're carrying around a bucket and they're trying to put the bucket where they think the ball's going to land, doing different alligator drills or goalie drills for the infielders, or shuffling side to side and trying not to let the ball go by them so it doesn't score, so it's fun things like that, and kind of creating that practice plan. That's where the confidence is. When a parent has a game plan of, okay, this is what my practice is going to be like. Yep, it's definitely going to be fun. We have the word of the day. We have our stations. We have our fun competition. And then we have our little game at the end. Like, super simple. Is it an hour? Is it an hour and 15 minutes? We can kind of figure that out. But having a plan makes practice so much easier. If you just go to practice with a bucket of balls and 12 kids and you're like, what am I going to do today? It's going to be the most boring thing you've ever done, no matter how good you are at it. Right? We all have to make sure, Coach Steve says it perfectly. When you go to a game, you write down all the mistakes that are done in the game, and that's your practice plan. We didn't really do well on cutoffs. Oh, we missed some ground balls. There's your practice plan for next week. Instead of going to practice being like, what am I going to do? It's the game itself will tell you what you should be doing. You just got to, pay attention enough to take some notes, and then write that down in your notebook, and there's your practice plan. But then it's also teaching the other coaches and the parents and the moms and dads that are with you what they're going to be doing. Because if you have the perfect plan, but the 3 helpers that you have have no clue what's going on, well, you might as well not even have a plan. You have to share with them, so setting up the stations in advance is perfect. Here's 5 wiffle balls over here at second base. Oh, here's 2 buckets over here in center field. Here's some cones where we're going to run first base. And here's 3 tees lined up and 3 dodgeballs to hit into the net. There you go. And now a parent can go over to it. You can show them what it is. You can walk in a circle, and everybody knows what they're doing without knowing what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that. I'm lucky because my wife teaches our speed and power. So for the first 20 minutes of every practice, it's myself with my assistant coaches, and we go through our practice plan and our stations and what we're going to work on. And we had a 3.5-hour practice on Sunday. These are 10 and 11-year-olds, and we had no field, right? So it was great. It's like, all right, well, we're going to go on the track, and my wife's going to start with that. And then we just took this open space on a football field, and we turned it into individual work. And the kids got to choose where they went. It's like, hey, if you want to work at third base, you can. Middle infielders, first base, outfielders, catchers. We gave them 45 minutes where they could choose where they went. And I had everything lined up for my coaches, and it was a blast. And we finished with an over-the-line tournament with a $50 Dick's Sporting Goods card on the line. And that was the funnest practice ever, where some folks might just be like, oh, we don't have a field, we can't practice. No, just get creative and have fun. I love it.
Three things for me to unpack here. One, you talked about the preparation, like have that plan. That is going to create confidence within you as a coach, that you're going to be able to connect. You're going to be able to ask them what they had for breakfast that day, because you've already prepared this plan. You don't have to worry about any of the X's and O's there. Love that. Secondly, I love how creative you are with all of these different shells that you call them on your social media feed. I mean, you're working on fly balls with a cone. You're literally tossing a cone up that's going to wave into the wind, and the outfielder's going to have to catch that thing because it helps them when it goes into the wind. You get creative with frisbees and all sorts of different types of objects that keeps the kids engaged. And lastly, I like how snappy you keep it. My professor in college called it catch the wave. As soon as you notice that the kid's interest or the energy is about to peak, bang, move on to the next thing. Rotate the station just to keep the juices flowing in this world in this new school of the kids got 98 different things they could be thinking about. We've got to do our due diligence to make sure that they are staying very intrigued and interested in what we do. Next question from me. What's the 24-hour rule? This is really cool, and I'd like the listeners to hear this.
Nice. So we found that after practice, after a game, a coach is just as juiced up with a 1-0 loss or a 2-1 loss, or they should have pulled the pitcher and they didn't pull the pitcher, or they put in they're their shortstop. Maybe they didn't make a move they should have moved. And all of a sudden you have these feelings, right? But then you have the parents that have the same feelings of, Johnny didn't get enough innings in. How come Matthew played 5 innings and my son only played 2? How come you left my son in there so long? How come, all these things, right, that happen in a game from one side to the other. So the 24-hour rule is a parent can't talk to another coach for 24 hours. So if they were to come up to me after the game, I'd say, Mrs. Smith, just want to let you know we have the 24-hour rule, which they already know. They signed a contract with us. They know what that means, but that doesn't stop a mom or dad when their juices are flowing or they're upset about something because their son or daughter's upset about something to just come in and just emotions will take over. And it's like, listen, I have no problem. I'll gladly have a meeting with you tomorrow. I'll gladly sit down. We can have a conversation. But right now is not the right time, because so many times the next day, that person, you'll call them up and they'll be like, oh, don't worry about it. Or, oh, it was just, the heat of the moment got them fired up. But then at the end of the day, 24 hours later, it's like, oh, I just had a question about something. And it's a much easier, instead of, we just lost 1-0. We're in the finals. The kids did so well. But then you have one mom or dad that just wants to rip into you for something. Like, nothing good's going to come out of that conversation, right? Like you're just, so it just allows the coach some headspace. It allows the parent some headspace so that neither one of them does something that they're going to regret later on. Either way, sometimes you get an email and it's this long about, I can't believe you did this in the game. And then you write I'll gladly respond to you tomorrow. Thanks for your feedback. And the next day, it's like, I'm sorry I wrote that email to you. I didn't really mean it. And you're like, no, we've been down this road before. We've been doing this for a long time. We get it. But the 24-hour rule is great for, like I said, not only the coaches and your staff, but the parents as well. So it just gives everybody a chance to cool down.
I think it's brilliant, and I think it really, really helps your relationship with each parent. But the moments right after the game when they are juiced, there is definitely negative impact on the child when they see their parent yelling, when they hear them yelling in the bleachers. Why do parents freak out in the moment? Why?
I think parents,
and I'll ask you both.
Being a parent of 4 kids, I think, and seeing moms and my wife, and it's like you feel what your kid feels. It's almost like you may not even know what they're really feeling, but you're looking at them, you're like, wait, what kind of conversation is my kid having with the coach? It seems like the coach is yelling at my kid. Maybe he's not, but everything is just perception. It could be one other mom being like, hey, what's coach saying to Tyler? And you're like, well, I don't know what he's saying. What do you think happened? And now it just spirals into something. You're like, but I think it's the emotion of, my kid, he only played 2 innings. He's probably so upset. I can't believe he didn't. Well, maybe your kid's like, hey, mom, I'm so happy we made it to the finals. Like, so I think that we try to, too many times, or it's the other people in the stands, like, how come your son's not playing? How come your son's not? And you're like, and in the beginning, you're like, well, I'm not worried about it. Like, he'll get in. But now all of a sudden, by the third person, you're like, wait, how come my son's not playing? And you're like, wait, what's going on? Like, what just happened? So I think that's just human nature, and people just, it's like when a kid gets cut, right? He doesn't make the team, and maybe he's the worst kid, and you're trying to figure out, and the dad goes, hey, I can't believe my son got cut, and the dad goes, yeah, I can't believe it either. Like, what do you think that dad's gonna say? Do you think he's gonna say, well, I think he's the worst kid? He's just gonna support your statement because he's just trying to, like, communicate with you, right? So that's the same thing sometimes of when you're in that situation, parents just talking, not meaning any harm by it, but sometimes by the third or fourth time someone says something, now you think that, like, wait, and that you're like, wait, am I missing something? What's going? It's like, hey, like, so it's all in communication, right? Like, it's trying to do our very best that we can as coaches to let our parents and kids know we have their best interest. I don't care who plays. My son's not, like, I'm just trying to coach and do what's best for them and try to get them to love the game and have the parents realize that, dude, I'm in this for your kid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not in this for me. Like, I'm here. And then it makes them feel more like that, So
I think this fear of FOMO, this fear of missing out, my child missing out on something, it spirals and just creates this toxicity. Chopper, I'll ask you the same thing. Why are parents freaking out in the moment, at the umpires, at the kid, at the coaches? Why?
I think Duke hit it on the head. I know for me personally, father of 4 boys, I'm old school, dude. Like, go talk to your coach. Like, my wife said it brilliantly last night on the way home from Noah. He's in 8th grade basketball and didn't play a whole lot last night. And we're driving home, and Deb's like, you just got to figure out your coach's currency. It's not that hard. Like, what is your coach? What's important to him? Is he big on hustle? Is he big on defense? Is he big? Whatever it is, you've got to find your coach's currency and then go get it. Like, I love it when my kid doesn't play. It's like, cool, go talk to her. I don't get emotional. I don't care, because we know enough to know, like, it's freaking 8th grade basketball. Like, who cares? But if we start getting weird about it and emotional and all this stuff, I mean, now all of a sudden, like, it's going to make it a lot worse for our kid. So I'm old school, dude. Talk to your coach. If you don't like it, you can play for someone else next year. But you're not going to quit mid-season. Our boy wanted to quit after last night. It's like, no, dude, go figure out your coach's currency and work harder.
Duke, what's your advice to parents during a game?
I think that's awesome. I think that, we do a lot of assessments and we do, like, goal setting. And I think one of the best things that a parent can do is communicate with their kids. And that is, hey, Tyler, what kind of fan do you want me to be for you? What do you mean, Daddy? Well, Do you like to hear my voice? Hey, Tyler, let's go. You got this. Do you like to me, hey, Ty, here we go. Or do you want me to say nothing? Like, what kind of fan do you want your mom or dad to be? Because how many times did we used to hear our moms and we're like, oh my gosh, like, where our mom's screaming and yelling and the kid's embarrassed and he's like, oh my God, that's my mom. Like they think they're doing right, right? Like parents are only trying to make the experience better. They're trying to support their kids. They're trying to do everything that they can, but they don't know unless they communicate what actually is working, right? Instead, hey, maybe you don't want your mom to say anything. Fine. Maybe the mom just claps and that's it. Well, she knows she's supporting the kid, her son, in the best possible way. But people don't communicate like that. So they don't know. The kid's screaming, the dad's screaming, the mom's screaming, the kid's embarrassed. He strikes out. He looks at his mom. He looks at his dad like, but everyone's just trying to make the experience good, right? Everyone's just trying to support. So that's one of the things that I would tell moms and dads is talk to your kid about what kind of fan in the stands they want you to be. Because I think that's a huge one, man. That's a game changer.
That's big. And as a coach, what's your advice to the coach to build that type of culture? Because I think that's what we're missing a lot of is just communication. Nobody's trying to self-sabotage their own kid and make them strike out 4 times. So what's your advice to the coach in game, during practice, to build that type of culture of communication?
Ooh, I think that's awesome. We talk about something the first day of practice, and we call it the optimum performance level, right? And we talk to all the kids and we label them from a 1 to a 10, 1 to 10. So Coach Duke is more of like a 7 or an 8. I'm high energy. I'm a rah-rah guy. I shake the fence when I want my players to do well. But then you may have a kid that's much more chill, and he's a 3, and he doesn't want to shake the fence down. He doesn't want to rah-rah-rah. And I always used to think, what do you think Derek Jeter would be? What do you think Mariano Rivera is compared to a Bryce Harper, right? Like everyone's numbers are different, but they're all amazing all-stars, right? Some guys are just laser focused and they're just going to. So when we know that with the kids, I know when Mikey, who's an 8, is kind of feeling down, that I got to go up to him and pat him on the back and be, let's go, Mikey, let's juice up a little bit. And he lifts his energy level goes up. Or if Matthew's getting too high when he's a 2, I know to calm him down because he plays the best like that. I won't tell a 2 to get on the fence. He doesn't want to. He'll still cheer, but he's not going to have that level of ups and downs. So when you can connect like that with your players, then it makes it, and they know what my number is, right? If Coach Duke is kind of flat and blah, they know, hey, Coach Duke, let's go. You're helping each other. Now all of a sudden, here I am. But I have to know to coach each player at their level. And that's so important because we just want to coach at our level. It's way more fun for me to rip the fence down and scream and yell and high fives, like go like this. Like that's what I want to do, but not if he doesn't want to do that. So we meet each other where we are, and it makes for an awesome season. Like it makes it so much more fun.
Well, it's definitely worked for my marriage, just finding out what my wife's love language is. And that's why I spend the first 10, 15 minutes of every practice just chilling, just hanging out in a team meeting kind of forum and asking questions. How was your day? What did you do? What was your favorite part of the day? And open-ended questions, what did you love about practice last week? Just to really figure out what their love language is. It's huge, coaches and parents. No doubt about it. Here's another Dukeism. Do what you say and say what you do. It might be backwards. I might have gotten that. Don't quote me on that, but unpack that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
When I say that quote, it's because, people always wonder, oh, Johnny took his hat and he threw it on the fence, and then the dad's going, I don't know why my son, is getting so fired up. But if you took that camera and you watched what happened when that kid struck out, here's the dad. His hat comes off. He's throwing it into the fence. It's like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? If you want them to act a certain way, we as coaches have to do the same thing. We have to respect the umpires. We have to respect the other coaches. We have to respect the game. We have to respect our players and the parents in the stands. If we want our kids to do the same thing, I have to make sure I'm buttoned up and my hat's on straight and my, I'm not having I forgot my belt today and I this and I that. Kids are going to forget things. I'm not saying that everyone's going to be perfect, but we have to make sure we we attack being a coach, because when you take on the title of coach, it's a big responsibility. And the way that you act and the way that you're is exactly what you're teaching the kids to do, So that's what I mean when I say that, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. Like, you can't say one thing and then do something different, because you might as well, when a kid's at the plate and you're in the third base coaching box and you're going like this after he swings and he misses and your hands, that kid immediately is taking in negative effects. He's now going to swing at whatever's coming at him, because whatever you're screaming is what he's going to do, opposed to, you got this. Like, let's go, buddy. Come on. Nice and confident. Deep breath. Let's go. Now the kid's like locked in. So we have to be very careful with our body language, because then their body language, you see kids, like, we have a rule that anytime a kid goes like this, it's 5 push-ups. Because what does this mean? This means I'm making an excuse. It wasn't my fault. This is complaining, right? A bad call. Strike 1. Like, what does that mean? That just means you're immediately like shifting your energy somewhere else, instead of being like, here we go, right? Or, I'm pitching and a guy makes an error and you're like, no, instead, it's teaching them, right? To like, that's like what you're saying, Coach Ballgame. It's about, how do we teach the kids how we want them to respond? Hey guys, anytime someone makes an error, we're going to look at them in the eye and be like, here we go, get the next one. But you have to teach them that, right? They're not going to do that automatically. Like, so you gotta teach the game the way you want it to be played to the kids that are playing it.
And I think body language, a lot like a video or a picture, they're going to remember that a lot more than what you say. They see what you do. They feel your body language a lot more than they hear what you say. Think about it with the words "have fun." I hear a lot of coaches say that our number one priority is to have fun, but the kids, they don't understand that fully. They hear those words, "have fun," but you have to show them, display what fun looks like in your actions, the way you react to certain situations as a coach, the way you dance at a team barbecue. You've got to show them all this. You've got to be clearly create pictures in their brain of what fun really looks like. Chopper, I know you're huge on body language as well. What do you have for the listener on coach's body language?
Yeah, once again, Coach Baxter hit it on the head. We've got to show them how to deal with adversity. We've got to show them how to stay in the moment. Talked with my coaches at the end of a few practices ago, about, you have a choice in every situation. You can be a drain or a fountain. And so understanding this concept of, we're always auditioning. And if you get good enough where someone wants to give you a big bag of money, potentially, they're going to be looking at what you do when you fail. So we have to teach our young kids how to navigate it. Take a deep breath, stay positive, believe in yourself. Bad call, so what? Strike out, so what? Mike Trout strikes out 150 times a year. Okay. So it's just teaching them that every opportunity they can win. They can win a strikeout. They can win an error. And that's changing the perspective. But Coach Baxter, I loved your answer. I have a question, staying on the theme with parents and coaches. This is something I haven't perfected. And so I need your wisdom in this. You have an athlete and you have a parent. They're not playing as much as they want to play. You can't provide them the playing time that we all know they need to develop. How do you navigate that?
Well, that's a great question. What we do is I always say, I navigate that in practice, right? Johnny wants to play first base, but he can't really catch that well. And he might get hurt if he goes over to first base, but the mom wants him to play first. Johnny knows he can't catch and he doesn't want to play first, but the mom and dad think he's a first baseman. So in practice, we're working on first base stuff. We're trying to get Johnny a little bit more confident. The game comes, Johnny doesn't play first. Maybe he plays one inning, but maybe he doesn't play at all. But in practice, he's playing a lot of first base. So to Johnny, he's playing first. He's not playing it in the game, but so then I'll communicate that to mom and dad. Hey, Johnny's getting better. We're working a lot in practice. We're getting him some reps at first, or say he's a pitcher, right? He's getting his pitching in. He's not ready for the game yet, but we're working on it. He's getting better and he's getting happy. And Johnny, what do you think about it? Yeah, mom, I'm starting to throw more strikes. So you're creating that environment of like, oh wow, like maybe my son is playing first base and he doesn't know the difference and it doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't, when he's ready, we'll put him there. And maybe we're up by 5 runs and we're like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, we're up some runs, let's give him a shot. Like, he's gonna do fine. Like, but so you just kind of work it that way. But I feel like in practice, that's our time, right? It's the coach's time to develop plans. It's the coach's time to grind the kids a little bit harder. But then when it's the game time, hey, baby, I'm just giving high fives and whatever I didn't do well and prepare them for, I'm just writing notes down. But I'm not yelling and screaming and you gotta get the you get no, this is fun time. It's game time. Practice is when we're gonna work and we're gonna, so that's what I think is when a parent says something like that, like, he's not getting enough time here, there. It's my job to work harder in practice to get him that time and get him ready for that position. If he even wants to play it. I have no problem telling mom, hey, I know you want him to play first so bad, but every time I talk to Johnny, he doesn't even want to play first. Like, so, and it's not a sport where, if you're afraid of catching or you're afraid of getting a throw from the shortstop, like, it's not the right spot for you then yet,
Yeah.
In that's game, how I that.
Yeah. In game, you got to be the comforter in chief, and then you take your notes. So for our coaches out there, you've heard us say it a few times. You just heard it from a tremendous coach in Coach Baxter. Give high fives, encourage the kids, get them back in the moment, tell them to take a deep breath, tell them to win the moment, take notes, stay positive. These are all what we preach, and Coach is preaching it. So spot on. Coach, ballgame.
Beautiful. Yeah. Coach Chopper has a rule with his staff. They've all got to have a little notepad in their back pocket. And that's where all the notes go. And then there's also a rule of no post-game chats, right? There's no post-game speeches. Let that 24-hour period settle, which is huge. I think could be the most famous Duke Baxter video or Dukeism is the hat method. And as I've gone around the country, that is a huge topic of discussion is how do I coach my own child? Like I want to be the coach. I'm a good coach. The team needs me to be a coach, but it's hard to coach my own child. For those parents driving their kids home, talk us through the hat method.
Oof, this is a good one. I learned this one with my little guy, and it just I just kept on using it. And I always had a challenge with daddy, coach, son, player. So here's what we do. When I get into the car, I'm coach. My hat's on and I'm coaching. My son's in the back seat. And I look in the back. If he has his hat on, I can talk about the game. Here's what I'm thinking about. I think I might start da-da-da. And usually they're just barely even listening, but it's just like I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm talking, going through some things, and boom, he's my son. I'm dad, but I'm kind of coach, and we're just kind of getting to the game. Once we get to the game, both hats have to be on. Now it's coach and son. I'll say Tyler, but I always say that he can't call me dad. Like I want him to call me coach, but he calls me coach, dad. He calls me dad, whatever. So it doesn't really matter. It's hard for a kid not to call him his dad. But when he knows when we get on the field, though, the respect and everything is boom. Dad scope. We walk to the field and we're on the field. Coach, 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 coach. Once we get back into the car, my hat comes off. I throw it on the dashboard and I'm only dad. I can't talk about I'm only dad. My son controls the conversation. If his hat's on, he may want to talk about the game, but I don't talk about it as a coach. I talk about it as his dad. Hey, dad, what'd you think about? Hey, buddy, did you work hard? Did you play hard? I loved watching you play today. It was fun watching you. I'm his dad doing all those things. If his hat is off, we don't talk about anything about the game. It's ice cream, movies. Hey, what are we doing today? What's going on? I do not have the right to talk about the game because he doesn't want to, and he controls the car ride. The car ride there is controlled by me because I'm in the coach mode, but he still can wear his hat or not. If he doesn't wear his hat, well, then I'd have to just kind of think to myself and think about the lineup, but I don't talk about the game. So it's totally controlled by that. So there is no on the ride home. There's no negative talks. There's no negative conversations. I'm not yelling, how come you missed a ball in the third inning? How come you struck out twice? I can't say any of that. And I don't want to. I know what it feels like as an athlete what it's like. I'm already beating myself up in the backseat. I can't believe I struck out twice. I can't believe I this, that. Like, they don't need mom or dad grilling them with the same things that they already know they did wrong, you know? So the hat method is, you know, I'm writing a book about it right now, a children's book, because I want all kids to be able to explain to their moms and dads what the hat method is and what it means and the importance of this magic hat that the kid can either wear or not wear. Because way too many kids that you hear from say, I love playing baseball, but I stopped playing because of the car ride home. Like, dude, that gives me the goosebumps and makes me so sad that kids actually don't play sports because of the car ride home. They don't get to play with their friends. They don't get to play the game that they love because that was such a dreadful thing that, I mean, think about the stress of that. You're in a game, you strike out once, and all you can think about is 2 hours from now, what my mom or dad are going to do to me in the car. Like, I wouldn't want to play, you know, like, so coming up with the hat method just allows that conversation to be loose and chill. And think about it. It gives you as a dad or a coach a break from, what am I going to say to my kid? What does he want me to do? Well, he's telling you right now. He wants to talk about the game. Hey, Johnny, what'd you think about the game? Oh, Dad, I can't believe it. And you're just talking. Or he doesn't have it on and okay, that's an easier conversation. We're just going to shift. So now our energy is exactly the same. Our energy, our focus, our positivity, it's perfect.
How is it novel that this philosophy you've fostered this culture of a two-way conversation and the communication of let's let go of all the parent control here. Let's allow the kid to have some control of this conversation. It's vital. It's necessary. Why are kids afraid of going 0 for 5 when they're standing in the on-deck circle of the car ride home? Because there's not going to be a two-way conversation. It's going to be all parent. They're in control of the whole conversation, and they're afraid to fail. So it's just a necessity. Can we create this two-way conversation where we're a listener and we can listen to our child and have them control how much they want to talk about the game or the sport, things of that nature. It's really going to help you when it really matters, when they're getting married or having kids and they need some advice from dad on certain things. You're their best friend because you're a listener. So I think that word control, that's something we've got to take the foot off the gas a little bit, lighten up on it, and allow the kid maybe to fail. Maybe allow them to mess up and figure it out on their own, have their teammates teach them a thing or two about it. But love everything about that. I got nothing else on my end, Chopper. What do you got on you?
I want to touch on just the term failure, right? Because as parents and coaches, we can look at failure a couple different ways, right? First of all, if you can't take the blame, right? Like if I'm a coach, that's on me, boys. Like, hey, we didn't stop the running game. That's on me. We're going to focus on that for the next month. We're going to make that a strength, but don't you guys worry for 1 second. That's on me. I'm going to take that. But as mom and dad, if your kid fails and they've got that hat on and they do want to talk about it, use it as a teachable moment. Like, hey, Duke, what was your thought process? Like, hey, how was your heart rate? Were you able to breathe and slow it down, or was it going a little quick for you? Hey, you threw to second. The play was at first base. Did you pre-think before the play? Was that something that you talked to your second baseman if you're playing third, that it's going to be you and him? Were you in double play depth? You know, so all these little things that it's like, hey, dude, who cares? If you can learn from it and extract growth or something that moves you into tomorrow as a better baseball player, a better human, a better friend, a better son, like that's a win. There's no failure in that. That's how we grow. I don't know. Touch on that, Duke, will you? I guarantee you got something cool to say about that.
And I love that. You know, I think that, you know, we mix into our practices, we call it Failure Friday, and we'll do something that we know they can't do. If I have 11-year-olds, they never see 70 miles an hour. I'll crank the machine up at 70 miles an hour and it's blowing balls by them. But they know it's Failure Friday. Like, we're not going to hit this, but we're eventually going to. And once we do, then the next guy's gonna, and the next guy's gonna. So we go in there and the kid's like, oh, okay, Johnny, it's your turn. Mikey goes in and he fouls one off and everyone's going crazy for holy cow. And next thing you know, the next guy's like, man, if I can just foul one off, and then one guy barrels one up, but you're like, it might take 20 minutes before anyone even touches a ball. But they're failing and smiling. They're failing and figuring it out. They're failing and they're in each other's corner because they know someone's going to do it. So when you have a team that you're building up like that, it's tough to beat a team like that. It's tough to beat a team that doesn't think they're going to lose because they know that over time we're going to get it. We're trying to win each inning. Okay, we lost the first three. We lost. Okay, well, we got to win this one. Like break it down into small chunks, get after it hard, and just never quit. And when you do that, and they're used to failing, and they don't even care if they're because they know they're going to do it still. You're like, it's hard to beat a team that never gives up, right? Like, so that's just something that I just think it's but it's teaching the parents that a failure's fine. Someone that never played baseball doesn't understand, like, why would my son strike out? We hit all day long. We hit every day. How does he strike out? Well, that's like an accountant. 1 + 1 is 2. It never changes. There's no obstacles. You study, your math problems. In baseball, the ball's moving, the thing is moving, your issues, your mental, like there's so many different moving parts. Like it's not that easy. So it's like trying to get them to understand, like, okay, he struck out, who cares? Like we have to keep him in a good mindset so he gets it the next time, not dwelling on the strikeout and why did you do that? And what, like that's not even a thing. So talking about failure, I have a good question for Coach Ballgame because I'm always on his Instagram and his social media, and I see the 1,000 push-ups and the 1,000 sit-ups.
Let's go.
And my question is that done every day? 1,000 push-ups and 1,000? Is it once a week? Like I'm trying to figure it out. So I want to join the challenge. But I need to know the rules.
Well, yeah. So my brother is a longboard, and a couple of teammates from college where we started January 1st. We gotta work out every day, and it can't be a walk. It's got to be a sweat. It's got to be hard, and we're almost at day 300 now, and we've kind of worked our way up to where a couple days a week we just see how many push-ups and sit-ups we can do in an hour, and then that turned in how many push-ups and sit-ups can we do in 90 minutes. And I was able to get 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups in 90 minutes about a week ago. I can't do it every day. I'm doing a different body part each day. So maybe it's 500 body squats the next day, or it's 250 arm curls. So I can't do push-ups every single day. I don't think that's healthy. But hey, it started with just a little challenge, and my brother's lost like 50 pounds crushing it. So that's a little personal thing that also I like to wake up every morning. It kind of gets me going. I think I'm a happier dude the rest of the day with that morning workout. So hey, don't try and do the 1,000 day one. I mean, that's taken me 300 days to get up there. But I will say this: it helps with my coaching. Yeah, it helps my coaching because anytime a kid, anybody turns a double play on a ground ball, the coaching staff has to do 50 push-ups. And now, I mean, I'm rocking that.
Now you're going one-handed like this.
That's easy, baby. Yeah. Man, this has been awesome. We went over a little bit, and I'm sure you got a busy day ahead, but the geyser of knowledge and wisdom from Duke and his partner, Coach Steve, Zone Sports, Dominate the Diamond. They got a great podcast. He's got a book taking on the title of coach. Man, I just appreciate your time and the amount of love that you pour into this next generation of not only kids, but I think more importantly, parents and coaches. Those parents and coaches they're gonna touch hundreds of lives we'll never meet. So I think I really do think that's the key. I think as far as MLB goes, we're garnering new fans with adults by speeding up the game and no shift and bigger bases, more stolen bases. But kids don't care about that. They don't really care if the game's 3 hours or 4 hours. They need a person to come into their community and reel them in with teaching love of play, and then more importantly, how to be a good person. So one attaboy, one attagirl at a time. We're doing it, man. So I'm proud of you and thankful that you could meet my good buddy Chopper. And thanks for the time.
You got it, man. Let's go. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Chop. Coach Ballgame. Thanks, man. Hopefully I'll
Thanks,
get to
dude.
come out to one of your sandlots one of these days when you're in Jersey.
It's
Let's
happening.
go.
It is happening. We got to get together. Let's get this whole trifecta of coaches.
Be solid.
But let's do something big one of these days.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
dude.
I
It's a great day to be great. See you, Coach.
It is.
See you, buddy.
Thank you.
And there you go. You can log off, Coach. You're good to go.
See you, Coach. Have a
keep
great
going
day.
And then
Thank
rock it out. Takeaways, my brother, from Duke Baxter. He's energy incarnate.
Yeah, man. For our listeners, if you haven't seen his videos, incredible because they're inspiring, but they're informational. But you can feel his love and care for the kids. He's holding them to a standard. He's holding them accountable. But you can feel that love from him and just the passion, dude. So he's awesome. The hat method is phenomenal. The challenge I've got with like Bo always has a hat on. He sleeps with a hat on. So it might be a challenge for me to even get him to take his hat off, so that we could talk about something different. But I love the hat method. Let the kid dictate what he does and doesn't want to talk, he or she does or doesn't want to talk about. That's all we want as parents, dude. We think we're doing the best we can for our kids, but go ahead and give them the mic, give them the conch, if you will.
Hey.
And let them, hey-o.
I don't think I've ever heard that word, and I love it.
The conch, that's from a childhood book, Lord of the Flies.
Oh, I wish I read
man.
more books.
I didn't read it. I just was supposed to have read it and turned in a book report about it. Bang, improvising.
I love the two-way street, man. It really is. It can be hard to do. I know from experience. I want to control the situation, control the conversation. Why not give up that tight grip a little bit and allow them to meet you in the middle? I think you're going to find out it's going to work better for you in the end. I had one last question that I didn't get to with the Duke, but I'd like to ask you, as these playoffs and World Series are going, we see some highs, we see some lows, we see some slumps. What do you tell the kid that's 1 for 38, the kid that just can't seem to find it on the mound, that is in a slump? Where do you go, Coach Chopper?
Use humor as best you can. It's easier with youth. It's a little bit harder at the highest level. But you're just trying to get them off of the failure in the past, right? That's really what it comes down to. When we're not in the moment, we talked about this extensively. You're either worried about the future or you're lamenting what happened in the past. So humor can do that. Talking about family can do that. When it comes to youth, for me, it's how can we simplify? So, as coaches, you can tell with the misses, maybe it's this real demonstrative load. Okay, can we simplify that? Can we just spread out and use our hands? Maybe it's popping the ball up. Okay, can we change their target? Instead of doing whatever you're trying to do right now, try to hit a low line drive at the second baseman. Going to keep him inside the baseball as a right-handed hitter. It's going to eliminate that dip. So find a target with youth. It's easier to make them laugh too, but making sure they know, hey, I unconditionally love you. I know you're the best player in the world. So you don't have to do more than just be you. You're awesome. You're handsome. You're awesome. And I'm lucky to be your coach. And so that's the focus with youth, and give them a target. I think a target's really important. Same with pitchers, by the way, coach. Same with pitchers. So if a pitcher, a couple things, and this will help some of our maybe coaches that haven't coached a ton. So you've got a pitcher who's missing consistently arm side, right? He's spraying arm side, right-handed pitcher. He's missing towards the third base side. Okay, you can fix this in game. If he's in the middle of the rubber, move him all the way to the third base side of the rubber and have your catcher move off the plate away. We're changing the target. Now his miss is a strike. So you've just increased his margin for error. If he starts landing that pitch off the plate away, you'll probably still get the call in youth baseball. But if not, you can move him, nudge him back a little bit. That's a quick fix. Another one, if you're missing high, what are you aiming for? Okay, you're aiming for a glove, you're missing high. Aim for his shoe tops or aim for the dirt. All of a sudden, strike, bounce a ball. Cool, now you can go back to the middle. So you can get away from mechanics with youth and just give them a target. That really helps.
Yeah, over exaggeration. I use that a lot when I was doing one-on-one lessons, and a guy's got a really exaggerated load or a real dip in their swing, their barrel's sagging. It's very golfy. We would over exaggerate. and I'd say let's fail on the other end of the spectrum. Let's if we're pulling out our shoulder, if we're swinging to pull side, well, let's try and hit it to the opposite dugout. I also think be as self-deprecating as you can, coaches. Let them know you're not perfect either. This has happened to you too. To use your slumps in your playing career to help this kid and humanize yourself and the moment a little bit. But ultimately, they can't be afraid of that next game and that next failure. You have to create this culture where failure is invited because there's so much room to grow from there. I feel like sometimes when my kid is slumping, I feel like the failure. And that causes anxiety, and they sense that anxiety. So what if you're not the failure, coach? What if you're not the failure, parent? What if it's just baseball? What if it's just the game? I think that'll get you out of your own head as a coach to a place of positivity. But it ain't never the end of the world. All right, it's just baseball. It's just softball. It's just basketball. It ain't never the end of the world. And again, play the long game. Try to get this kid to carry through this and make it to the other side of this obstacle or this fear, because when it really matters, when they have to make a difficult decision, when they're a husband or a father, when they're an adult, I mean, they're gonna lean on this moment. So that's the long game. That's the big picture. Is every single one of these kids will be an adult one day and have to make tough decisions. So that kind of leads me into my final little bit, and that's just my favorite coach of all time. And she just recently passed away, and her name's Lowry Marshall, and she was my first acting coach at Brown University. She's a legend at Brown University. And when I heard the news that she passed, I mean, it was, of course, just debilitating for a bit. And I kind of unpacked why do I feel so sad? And it's just she framed the way I approach coaching and the way I try to meet each child. She taught love of play to the point of I didn't like any classes at Brown University, did not get excited about going to anything. But then I went into her class for the first time, and it was a light bulb moment. It was like, I love being here. And I was an athlete. I was the guy from the other side of campus with a lot of these artists, but she found me on my playing field, and she got how I ticked, and she taught love of play. She created this culture of joy, and it did. It felt like we were just playing like we were kids, and I think that's as simple as it gets. She created such a joyful atmosphere that when I really struggled into my mid-20s and late 20s, auditioning and trying to get jobs, I would lean on those moments with her, where we would just talk about failure and plowing through and bouncing back and finding the joy in these things. So that she'll forever be my favorite coach, and rest in peace now, Lowry Marshall. A big atta girl to you. My parents know how much I loved her, and it's nice to have those special people. And it comes back to the beginning, that word impact. She impacted thousands of people, and it wasn't all about getting that job or getting that movie or getting that role in that play. She was playing the long game. She was showing me how to approach a kid that's maybe a little bit afraid of playing baseball, or a kid that's got something going on at home and just needs an arm around their shoulder. So forever thankful for my favorite coach, Lowry Marshall. There you go.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Larry Marshall. It's a beautiful way to end this pod.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of Brown University, next week, one of my best friends, my teammate at Brown U, Dan Spring, who I've referenced many times. We were in a band in college. We played baseball together in college. He got me my first job out here coaching kids, and really framed the way I run camps and reinforce positively with my kids and my assistant coaches now. So some more good coaches coming on board. The following week, we just confirmed Coach Rack, who's got like 1 billion followers now and is just, soaring. So I love these conversations we keep having with all these great coaches. And to you listeners, thanks for supporting. To you patrons, we love you. And you guys keep on raking. We'll try and do the same. Huh, buddy?
Smash that like button, push that subscribe. Just kidding. I want to sound like all the cool podcasters.
You kind of sounded like that.
Oh, that's great. Have a great week, everybody. Don't forget to rake. Go exercise like Coach Ballgame. Let's go. I'm jumping on that elliptical right now. What do you got?
And keep that beard going for Boach.
What do you got, Boach? Let's go.
Rangers in 6.
Yeah, I agree.